Hello, I'm Sergey. I'm founder and CTO of Flexify. As you know, we do data migration, mostly cloud-to-cloud data migrations, and that is why a recent announcement of major cloud providers about them waiving egress fees when we switch providers is of very high importance for us. Usually we find that migrating from one cloud to another cloud is cost prohibitive for the customers. You know, it's large guys game. They have this kind of lock-in strategy where you can send data to a cloud provider almost free of charge, but if you want to take data from cloud provider back on premises or to another cloud, you're charged a lot, like cost prohibitive a lot. Historically, we're able to minimize those charges, but they still prevent many people from making decisions about migration. So what we have seen in the last months that all major cloud providers, I'm talking about Amazon Web Services, GCP, Microsoft Azure, Google Cloud Services, they announced that they are waiving egress fees when you switch from one provider to another provider. Are those guys suddenly become good? That's probably not the case. The reason for this announcement is most likely European Data Act that was published in December 2023 and will be in effect from September 2025. However, this act got Chapter 6, which specifically named switching between data processing services, meaning switching between cloud providers. And got Article 29, which is named gradual withdrawal of switching charges, which says that already from January this year, from January 2024, providers of data processing services may impose reduced switching charges on a consumer for switching process. And it also says that those reduced charges, they shall not exceed the costs that are incurred by a provider. For Amazon or for Azure, sending data to another cloud provider in the same continent, probably even in the same city, is almost free. They're all on those internet exchanges, so it doesn't cost 9 cents, even 6 cents per gigabyte to send data from Amazon to Azure. It costs almost nothing. And it means that legally, at least in Europe, cloud providers cannot charge egress fees when data owners want to switch from that provider to some other provider. It's likely that the offer is worldwide, because Europe is big enough, and what we have seen in the past that United States usually follows Europe in terms of data protection laws or data privacy laws. So we would expect similar laws to be taken in the United States and in other countries. This Article 29 of the European Data Act says that from January 2027, there should be no switching charges at all. But as you know, cloud providers already announced that they will waive all those charges. Does it work? From our experience, not really. And there are two reasons for this. First, in addition to data egress fees, there are other fees, such as you know that all large providers, they offer different storage classes for your objects. So I'm talking specifically about object storage, like Amazon S3 or Google Cloud Storage, because at Flexify, we specialized in object storage migration. When you choose to use non-default storage class, such as Glacier in Amazon Web Services or cold storage in Azure, you agree to store your data for a certain amount of time, such as for 90 days or for half a year in some cases. And if you delete this data earlier, cloud provider will still charge you for the rest of the time. And there are also data retrieval fees, which are different from egress storage fees. So when you read data from those non-standard or non-hard storage classes, from those cheaper storage classes, cloud provider will just charge for every gigabyte you read. And those announcements that we have seen, they say nothing about waiving early deletion fees or data retrieval fees. But even if those are eliminated as well, there is another factor which is the most important factor why companies wouldn't be able to use this offer for their free egress during provider switch. And the reason is multi-cloud. Large data owners are usually enterprises, and they do not want to completely switch from provider A to provider B. They don't want to ditch Amazon for Google. They want to add Google to Amazon. So they want to continue using their previous cloud provider, but to move some data, some applications, some services to another provider. So they want to extend to build a multi-cloud environment rather than just completely switching something to something else. And those free migration offers usually come with the requirement to close your account with your existing cloud, or at least to delete data that you migrate, to delete applications that you migrate, which is impossible. And that is not what businesses want. That is not what they can afford or willing to do, which makes those offers virtually useless. In any case, so if some company, if you, for example, like this offer and you can agree with the cloud provider gives you egress charges, at Flexify, we have created a special offer where we can help you technically migrate this data at just 1 cent per gigabyte. It's just much easier to do it with Flexify. Of course, you can do it with some other tools which are free. You can even use Flexify Community Edition, which is also free. But if you want to use our service, migrate at 100 gigabit per second, migrate petabyte of data in a day, so we can do it at just 1 cent per gigabyte, as long as you get this free egress traffic offer from a cloud provider. Talking about the same European Data Act, it actually have another chapter, another article, Article 34 of Chapter 8, which is called interoperability for the purpose of in parallel use of data processing services, which basically requires cloud providers to allow multi-cloud. And it requires cloud providers not to charge egress fees in case of parallel use of multiple providers, in case of multi-cloud configuration, over the costs that are incurred by those specific cloud providers. And since the costs are nearly zero, we can expect that in Europe, starting from September 2025, it will be basically illegal to put restrictions on multi-cloud use. And starting September 2025, you will be basically able to, for example, buy storage from Google and buy compute from Amazon, make them work together without paying cost-prohibitive egress traffic fees. And that's going to be a game changer.